Hey everyone, let's jump right into this explainer. Today, we're taking a deep dive into an absolute masterpiece of a story, one of the most timeless and profoundly emotional narratives ever recorded. We aren't just looking at some basic myth today, we're unpacking a monumental epic that has literally shaped how countless generations understand love, devotion, and cosmic balance. This is the incredible tale of Shiva and Parvati. And whether you know this lore inside and out, or you're coming to it for the very first time, the layers of tragic loss and ultimate redemption in this source material are just absolutely fascinating. Okay, let's dive right into this. The source material explicitly tells us this story is considered the greatest symbol of devotion, surrender, and love. I actually wanted to start us off right here at the grand conclusion. Why? Well, because to truly grasp the mechanics and the emotional gravity of this whole epic, we kind of need to know exactly what it represents at its core. It isn't just a romance. According to the text, it's the absolute blueprint for surrender. When we talk about love in its purest, most unwavering form, this right here is the gold standard. That single idea really anchors everything we're about to explore. Section 1. Symbol of Love and Devotion. And this brilliantly illustrates the four structural pillars of the legend. The source text doesn't just give us a random sequence of events, it gives us a really carefully constructed architecture. First, we have Lord Shiva's deep penance, this state of intense, isolating meditation. Second is Mother Parvati's incredibly strict resolve, an unbreakable determination that pushes the limits of endurance. Third is their holy marriage, representing this massive cosmic union. And finally, the establishment of an ideal domestic life. So that's our thematic roadmap. But before we can get to that amazing, joyous resolution, we actually have to rewind to the very beginning. Section 2. Sati's separation and sacrifice. We simply cannot understand the depth of Shiva and Parvati's connection without first confronting a massive, universe-altering tragedy. Long before Parvati, there was Sati, Lord Shiva's first wife. The text describes how Sati attended this grand yagya, a sacred fire ritual hosted by her own father, King Daksha. But instead of being welcomed, she and Shiva were just profoundly insulted. The disrespect was so severe and so deeply wounding that in a moment of absolute raw sacrifice, Sati actually invoked a powerful yogic fire and allowed herself to be consumed by it. It's a completely devastating moment that literally shatters the existing cosmic balance. Section 3. Shiva's deep penance. Naturally, this harrowing event leads to an almost unimaginable spiritual fallout. So what actually happened to Shiva after Sati's departure? Think about it practically for a second. When the absolute anchor of your existence, your deepest love, is violently taken away because of pure pride and insult, where do you even go? How does a cosmic being process that kind of infinite grief? Because this didn't just end with Sati's loss. It transformed into this terrifying detachment that affected the entire world. So, the crucial point is how Shiva responded to this intense grief. He essentially just stepped away from the world entirely. He turned completely inward, merging into this state of deep, unyielding penance. He isolated himself, totally freezing his emotions and his presence, almost like he was building this massive psychological and spiritual fortress out of pure sorrow. And without his active energy in the mix, the universe was essentially left out in the cold, plunged into this era of absolute stillness and spiritual winter. Section 4. Birth of Parvati. Now let's see how this builds across the different eras, because the universe, according to these foundational texts, can't just stay in a state of perpetual winter. It always seeks balance. We see this progression happening across 3 distinct phases. We start with Era 1, Sati's tragic passing. That traumatic event directly causes Era 2, Shiva's absolute withdrawal into deep meditation. But then, out of all that prolonged stillness, comes Era 3, the soul's miraculous rebirth as Parvati. It perfectly shows that energy and love are never truly lost. They just transform, reincarnate, and return with a very specific, undeniable purpose. The text actually details this new incarnation really explicitly. Sati's soul takes a new earthly form as Parvati, the daughter of the mountain king Himalaya and his wife Meena. This grounds the mythological rebirth in a very specific earthly identity. And it's so fascinating when you think about the real-world Himalayas, right? They're massive, unyielding, culturally revered as the majestic boundary of the heavens. And she is born from those very mountains. Her origins in this new life perfectly mirror the kind of immense, rock-solid resolve she is absolutely going to need to bring Shiva back to the world. Section 5. Immense Childhood Devotion. Now, what's really interesting about this juxtaposition is how it plays out right from the start. Parvati's destiny wasn't something she just stumbled into later in life. Right from her earliest days in childhood, she carried the echo of her past life, translating it into this singular, unwavering focus. Think about the stark contrast between the two of them here. On one hand, you have Lord Shiva, frozen, basically an immovable wall of impenetrable stillness and grief. And on the other, young Parvati, this unstoppable force of natural, pure attachment, radiating immense love. It perfectly sets the stage for the intense penance she is going to undertake to win him back. It's the ultimate cosmic pursuit. And that leaves us with a final, pretty provocative thought. Can true love and resolve actually transcend the boundaries of birth and death? Based on the text we've unpacked in this explainer, the answer is a massive, resounding yes. This story suggests that true devotion isn't limited by a single lifetime, and it sure isn't extinguished by even the greatest of earthly tragedies. It endures, and it relentlessly seeks reunion against all odds. It really challenges you to consider the infinite depth of such devotion in your own understanding of love, doesn't it? Anyway, thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and definitely keep exploring the incredible, timeless layers of these foundational stories.